Why is stealing someone's TV worse than giving them a new TV as a gift? It might seem like a stupid question.
Yeah, because it is. And this might seem like a stupid video, because it is.
And the answer might seem so obvious.
Because, again, it is. Also, gonna use the one AI to remove the music and the other to improve the sound quality so it doesn't sound like it was recorded on a potato. You're welcome. Can't do anything about the dumb memes, sorry.
But truly, why?
Because one violates the non-aggression principle and the other doesn't.
Is it because they have a right to property and you're violating that right? Well, why should we even have that right?
It's hard to believe that after all this time, we still have people who can't look at the tons of times this has been laid out logically from first principles. Like I did in my video, Libertarianism and Property Rights from First Principles.
Why should we care about someone's rights?
For no other reason than you would want them to care about yours. If you tolerate a system where everyone gets to steal a TV, they might steal your TV. And think of how unworkable society would be if we had that idea. We'd basically be a raider society like in those dumb video games. But how would they ever last since no one ever actually produces anything? Get the right idea, like property rights, and you have progress. The wrong idea, like socialism, and you have poverty, misery, and starvation.
Is it because it causes them harm? At least financial harm. But why should we care that harm is bad? Why is harm bad?
Because if it weren't, then it wouldn't be harm, by definition.
You might already catch on to the point. And the point is, if we are to always ask why, where do we end up? What is the last foundation? The idea and belief that everything else rests upon, that is the base for our morality.
Well, I started with the law of non-contradiction. You could go back even further if you wanted and start with the law of identity, basically the first principles of all logic, reason, and science that resulted in the eradication of smallpox and a man on the moon.
Why is something right or wrong at all?
Well, 2 + 2 = 4 is right because it follows logically from those principles. 2 + 2 = 5 is wrong because it doesn't.
This is the biggest problem of a godless world. Morality.
Well then, it seems like we've got nothing to worry about, do we?
Even if we were to assume that everyone, 100% of the human population would know for a fact that God does not exist. For a fact, absolute fact, every single person would know this. Let's assume that. Can you still point to a reason why they should not believe in God? Because it's false. Well, why is believing in something that is true better than believing in something that is false?
Because if you believe in something that's false, things aren't going to work out for you. If you believe that putting water in your gas tank is as good as putting in gasoline, you aren't going to get very far.
Why should you believe in a truth instead of a lie?
Because, again, the truth is going to enable you to live your life. If someone lies to you and says that cyanide is a health tonic and you believe him, your life isn't going to be a concern for much longer.
Truly, try this right now. Try to think of a reason why somebody should believe in a truth instead of a lie.
Already gave you 2.
It might seem like, once again, a very stupid and a self-evident question with a self-evident answer.
And it is. Done and done.
But try it.
Already dead.
Is it because believing in truth is good? Well, what is good? Is the truth good? Well, that's circular logic. You can't say that you should believe in the truth because that is good and you should do what is good because that is true.
Well, good thing that absolutely no philosopher has ever said that. The rest of us start from first principles. Some of you have probably keyed on to the fact that he's setting this up as an attack against atheism. In fact, it's the biggest problem with atheism. Well, if it's the biggest problem, doesn't seem like we have much to worry about, does it?
And you can't say that you should believe in the truth because it's correct.
Sure I can. You should believe in the truth because it's correct. See? Easy!
Because, well, why is believing in something that is correct better than believing in something that is not correct?
Because, again, believing in incorrect things gets in the way of getting things done. If you believe in the incorrect notion that you can fly by flapping your arms and you try to avoid traffic by jumping off a 20-story building, you're gonna have a few seconds to contemplate how wrong you were and how much better it would have been to have been correct before you suddenly lose the capacity to contemplate anything ever again.
You're just changing the word of truth to correct, but you're not changing the question at all. You're not answering the question.
No, we are. We're just not doing it in the completely dumb way you're describing. Why is it that none of these morons actually look up the concepts before mouthing off about it?
So truly try to think of a way. Why should we believe in a truth instead of a lie? And what you end up at is that you will always have to do some sort of a philosophical circle.
Nope, that's just you, pal.
You cannot find a foundation. You will always have to use circular logic.
Well, I was able to do it.
So how do we escape this circle? What is the way that we can have a foundation that is unshakable?
Start from first principles. Whatever you want. Law of identity, law of contradiction, law of excluded middle. Of course, while those are the beginning of all logic as we use it, logic doesn't really have a beginning like that. It can't. From 1910 to 1913, Bertrand Russell and Alfred North Whitehead published the 3-volume Principia Mathematica, an attempt to establish math from its very first principles. Took them 700 pages to establish the concept of the number 1. That's how much of a logical underpinning there is to even simple concepts. In 1931, Kurt Gödel came around with the incompleteness theorems and showed that there could be no consistent set of axioms that describe all of mathematics. 2 years later, Alfred Tarski showed that this applies to all of logic as well. And then at the turn of the century, Raymond Smullyan came along and really cemented the idea down. There can never be any single defining first principle, just wherever it makes sense to start from at the time. And that's going to bite this guy in the ass later on.
How can we stop this meaningless life and this nihilistic view that there is no meaning, there is no nothing, there is no truth, no right, no wrong, no lies, no reason to do anything? How do we escape it?
Well, that sounds like your problem, buddy. Most of the rest of us don't have that issue.
How do we escape these ideas when we can't even explain why somebody should believe in the truth?
I just showed you how.
Well, the answer is very simple.
You hear this coming, don't ya?
It's with God.
Yep, the argument for morality. But if, as I just explained, you can't ever really have a first principle, then how could you start with God, which isn't even a principle but a claim about reality? Especially since, as I described, there can never actually be any true first principle. Where is there even room for God there? In fact, God makes the problem worse, because now you have to start with a being that's all-powerful, all-good, and all-knowing. How would you establish that? Whereas none of the problems you want to use it to solve have anywhere close to that degree of complexity or the number of assumptions you'd need to have to even allow its existence.
Now let's do the same as we did before and ask why. Well, why should we use God as a base for our morality?
Well, read the Bible. Guy's a complete asshole.
Why should we trust God for morality? And it's because, by definition, God is omniscient, all-knowing.
You can't just define that into existence. You have to say where knowledge comes from. Show the logic underpinning why and how God is all-knowing. And have fun with that. It'll take you a while. You'd need a lot more than 700 pages.
Meaning that, by definition, it is a deductive fact that God must know what is right and what is wrong.
No, that's not a deductive fact. You haven't deduced anything. You've just made bald assertions and avoided supporting them by making another assertion.
So, because God is all-knowing, He must know what is right and wrong.
You haven't even come close to showing that God even exists yet, let alone that He's all-knowing and therefore knows right and wrong.
That is the only thing that we can base our morality on. Nothing else can we base our morality on.
And yet, I did it myself several years ago. Your burning questions at the start of this video weren't even hard.
Now you might say that this is no proof for God. And you would be absolutely correct. This is not a proof for God. This is not an argument for God.
Well, thanks for admitting it at least. The argument for morality is generally pushed forward as one of the proofs for God.
But the point is that even if there were to be no God, we would need to believe in a God.
What?
Because otherwise we would have nothing. Absolutely nothing. No morality, no right and wrong, no truth or false.
So, if there were no God, we'd have to believe in God anyway in order for there to be truth? So, truth can only exist if we believe in something that's false?
Absolutely nothing. So even if there would not be a God, we would need to believe in a God.
Well, I don't believe in a God, and I apparently have a much better handle on morality and right and wrong than you do. I can at least defend the non-aggression principle logically from first principles. So there's that. Maybe it's the other way around. Maybe if you do believe in God, believing in something that's false, it could lead you to make crap like his video. Another reason to care about reality. So thanks for watching. Please hit like and subscribe, leave a comment, and go to donate.bogosity.tv to keep me doing what I do. And check out all the great content here, like this video selected just for you.